All right, India Today has now accessed the CCTV footage of the killing that happened of Vijay in Kulgam. This is the CCTV footage that India Today has accessed, where it shows terrorists targeting at a non-local Hindu, Vijay, who hails from Rajasthan. He was shot at. Here's the incriminating visuals that we bring to you right here on India Today. Well, we are showing you the CCTV footage, images right there in Kulgam, where Vijay, the non-local Hindu who was targeted and chased by terrorists, he literally tries to escape from them at this point, where he's seen fearing for those terrorists. In fact, these are the CCTV footage here shows Let me cut across to our reporter who would probably be able to give us an understanding on what the CCTV footage exactly showcases. Ashraf, please tell us what you see in the CCTV footage. We see a man peeping through that door. Who is that man? And how were the terrorists able to gun down Vijay? Was this a case of targeted killing? How did they manage to catch him?
So far, there was a CCTV camera installed in that particular bank branch where this targeted killing was carried out in the Ur village of Kulgam district. What we can see in the CCTV footage that the killer, the terrorist who has come with a pistol, first comes to the door because that is the glass door. He just checks whether the person is inside. And it seems very isolated bank where only this manager was sitting at that time on his own chair. Then he, after a few seconds, he enters the door and then from nearby counter he shots 3 fires towards the manager Vijay Kumar and into his chest, what the CCTV footage reveals. Then he fled from the spot. There was not any security, otherwise banks have the private security system. Here it seems there was not any kind of security outside the bank or at the gate of the bank, and this assailant clearly comes inside and then shots Vijay Kumar inside the bank on his chair. This is the CCTV footage which clearly shows only one terrorist coming inside the bank and shots the Vijay Kumar in a very close range, which resulted his death in the hospital. So this will give some kind of clues to the security agencies. Probably they can identify the killer also from this CCTV footage. He will be identified, and there is also some more CCTV footage from the outside which has not been shared with the media that may give some other clues that how this terrorist came near the bank and then entered the bank, whether he used any vehicle, which kind of vehicle he used. Probably that will be the main clue with the security agencies and police to nab this assailant, this killer. So far, the CCTV footage and also the area has been cordoned off. Some people around who have seen this crime outside may be questioned and asked about the movement of the killer. But so far in the CCTV footage, one thing is clear, that only one terrorist is involved in the killing of this bank manager in Kulgam district of South
Ashraf, it's so shocking to see how that man, the terrorist there, literally tries to peek into the bank, sees that there was no one else around, saw his target sitting right there in front. In fact, Vijay Kumar is a non-local Hindu, and this seems to be another case of targeted killing. In fact, there wasn't anyone at the bank premises as per the CCTV footage. This is Vijay Kumar, as we see on our screens here. He was sitting solo right inside the bank. He seemed to have been alone at that point when the terrorists came, quickly got a look of who were inside the bank premises. He saw that no one was there, and then minutes later he comes back to the premises and then shoots point blank at Vijay Kumar. Unfortunately, even before he was rushed to the hospital, he was pronounced dead. These are images, CCTV footage, in fact, right here, exclusive on India Today. On the right-hand sides of your screens, you see that man who's entering the glass door. He's a terrorist. He holds a gun and comes point blank, targets the non-local Hindu who's seated at his desk inside the bank premises. It seems like an isolated bank. There were not too many people at that point. He comes and checks. He takes a peep inside the glass door to try and see if there's anyone else around, goes back, Few minutes later, comes back and then pulls out his gun, shoots at Vijay Kumar, the non-local Hindu, point blank. This is another case of targeted killing that's been reported from Kulgam. In fact, on May 31st, just 2 days ago, Rajni Bala, another Hindu, was shot dead in similar fashion, where the terrorists there came out to kill the man point blank in another case of targeted killing. And this is another one that's happened today. Reports coming in from Kulgam where terrorists have barged into a bank. They've taken a good peep to see. The man that you see on your screens here is the terrorist who holds a gun in his hand. He takes a peep inside the bank to see if there's anyone else around. He sees that Vijay Kumar, who was his target, was seated alone. There was nobody else around. And then comes back just a few minutes later, pulls out his gun and shoots Vijay Kumar point blank. Here's a terrorist, as you see here, manages to come back. He literally returns just barely a few minutes after he carries out a recce of that bank office. In fact, from what we see here is that there you go. The terrorist then comes back and then holds his gun out and then shoots Vijay Kumar point blank. Absolutely gruesome and defiant. These are terrorists who are rampantly on the prowl. Ashraf Wani, who's joining us for more on that. Ashraf, it's unbelievable to see, despite the kind of heavy police deployment, despite military deployed across Kashmir, all the sensitive areas that have really tight security owing to a situation like this where terrorists are rampant across many parts of Kashmir at this point. And despite that police deployment, we see them brazenly walking around with weapons. How is that even possible? Military deployment in large numbers in Kashmir, but yet we're looking at terrorists managing their kill.
Nabila, some of the very important question you are asking and what kind of things we want to share with the viewers, that basically there is a word hybrid terrorism in the Kashmir Valley. These are the hybrid terrorists. Just you have a look on the CCTV footage and on the assailant, the killer, that he does not look in the open he is any kind of a terrorist. He is a person wearing jeans, wearing shirt and a small weapon which can be easily held in the pocket. So to keep eye on each and every moving person in the Kashmir Valley is not possible.
You know, Ashraf, I'd like to cut you short right there. I'm going to quickly cut across to SP Vaid, who's a former DGP, Jammu and Kashmir, joining us. Mr. Vaid, what we see here is CCTV footage showing a brazen terrorist walking into that bank premises, doing a recce of the bank office, and then goes back, minutes later, comes back with a gun, shoots at Vijay Kumar, who's a non-local Hindu, point blank. This is the exclusive footage we have right here on India Today. How would you look at this at a time when Kashmir has heavy police deployment, including the military in large numbers, but yet we're looking at brazen attacks in broad daylight?
Yes, you're absolutely right. The brazenness with which the terrorists are walking in and undertaking the act. See, first priority, I personally believe, of the administration should be to protect all these vulnerable people. And I want to know how come this Mr. Vijay Kumar, who was from Rajasthan, I am told only 4 days back he joined in a remote area in Kulgam district. Why should his officer who transferred him there be not held accountable? I think first priority of the government collectively should be to shift all such people to those areas which are protected, where no one can with weapon enter. While simultaneously the all-out operation must continue. Operations relentlessly against terrorism should continue. But we must protect. These are two different things. I have a reason to believe that terrorists have a list of all such vulnerable people, minority people, and people from outside Jammu and Kashmir who can be targeted. And they are doing it one by one. So we must stop this cycle. So my take is let the accountability be fixed of officers concerned, and they are made accountable that no such killing should take place, and they should the terrorists know where the target is, and their senior officers don't know. That 2 days back, that lady teacher who was killed, I am told she appeared before her chief education officer that I am facing threat, I must be transferred. But instead of transferring her to Srinagar or to a protected place, she was martyred by terrorists. I think time has come to fix responsibility and accountability, and action should be taken against those officers. Why should that chief education officer be not prosecuted in that murder case? So I think time has come. The government must fix responsibility and hold everyone accountable.
Right. Mr. Vaid, at this point, what we failed to believe or understand is that despite the kind of heavy military deployment there, along with the police, of course, who are on high alert, we see that these terrorists are on the prowl with weapons. Where do you think these weapons are coming from? You're saying that lists are being leaked, they're managing to find information, etc. But this amidst the military deployment, one can only imagine what kind of loopholes there are which they're making use of.
See, as per my information, about 2 weeks back, one terrorist was arrested in Srinagar, from whom 11 pistols were recovered. As per his statement, 20 pistols, earlier assignment of 20 pistols has already been distributed in Srinagar and Anantnag and other areas. So that is why I am saying they have the list, because I recall when I was DGP in 2018, when Operation All Out was started, 2017, they were targeting policemen, and I was told that they have a list of all policemen who were working in Special Operation Group, who have been awarded gallantry medal, who have been awarded out of turn promotion. That is why they were one by one targeting them. So we went after them. I think I have a reason to believe that terrorists have the list of such vulnerable targets. So first priority of the government should be to shift these vulnerable people to safer areas and continue relentlessly against this. And also surprise checking and frisking should continue so that everyone carrying weapon is apprehended.
Yeah, but Mr. Vaid, when you spoke of moving vulnerable people to safer areas, we know that the government just yesterday decided that in fact, all government employees, Hindu government employees, will be moved to the district headquarters. While that said, you still have Kashmiri Pandits who believe that they are being uprooted from their hometowns, uprooted from their own areas to be moved to a safer place. Unfortunately, this is the price they have to pay only to live, only to stay alive. Are these areas where they're currently working in is the police or the government not able to secure those areas better instead of uprooting them from those homes?
Fine. See, listen, this moving them would be temporary move. It does not mean permanently they're moved. Till situation returns to normalcy. You can't allow these people to be killed one by one. I think, can we afford each day one killing? It isn't. We must stop this cycle of killing. So that is the one way I feel is, though I was initially against this move of shifting them to Jammu, but I think if they are to be saved, I think instead of getting them killed, it is better to shift them temporarily till we are able to have an upper hand on the situation.
Right, but Mr. Vaid, here we're looking at a massive police and military deployment. So we're seeing terrorists managing to strike at their targets in the face of such huge military deployment. How are they finding the strength? And how is the military not being able to crack that down or nip it at the bud? Because this is not a one-off incident. We're looking at least 6 cases of targeted killings in just the recent few months.
It clearly indicates one very prominent point. That is, there is no sense of scare in the terrorist. In spite of your deployment, massive deployment, that means no surprise checking and frisking is taking place. Terrorists should be bloody shitting in his pant, knowing that if frisking, when I am moving in this area, if I get frisked, I will be caught and I will be killed. So that is not happening. What is the use of massive deployment if they are not able to create this scare in the terrorist?
So in a way, you're saying, Mr. Vaid, that somehow the military or the police there have failed to secure those people, the vulnerable Hindus in those areas, because this kind of brazenness by the terrorists is not new. They've been functioning, having sleeper cells along the Kashmir Valley for decades now. For as long as we remember, they've been carrying out terror activities and strikes. And this time, at least in the last few months, they've become a lot more active and a lot more brazen. They don't mind being caught and killed, but they want to want to reach their goal, and that is to kill a Hindu in fact, not just a Hindu, for that matter, even any Muslim there supporting the government or supporting the Hindus in the community are also not spared.
Amarina was Muslim.
Yes.
Amarina was Muslim.
Yes.
So it is, that's why I'm saying the vulnerable targets need to be protected. The incidents are indicating that terrorists are moving without much scare in their mind. They should be bloody shitting in their pants that they will be caught or they will be killed in encounter if they are frisked, if they have to pass through some system. But it is not possible for army and police and paramilitary to be present in remote areas of Kulgam or Shopian. I think that is why I'm insisting such vulnerable targets should be in the headquarters, district headquarters, or in the places where there are where a person with a weapon cannot enter without getting frisked. That is my point. So we must protect our people first. Simultaneously go on, continue with the operation all out.
SP Ved, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and your inputs on this. In fact, here we heard the Jammu and Kashmir former DGP who spoke extensively and explicitly about how there seems to be a failed attempt in securing those vulnerable targets. Clearly, the military and the police not being able to nip this in the bud. A spree of targeted killings in the last few months, and doesn't seem like the police deployment there or the army deployment has really managed to deter these terrorists at this point. This is almost the 6th targeted killing, a case of targeted killing where terrorists have managed to hunt and gun down Hindus, be it within the Kashmir Valley or even a non-local Hindu also seems to be the new target now as per what we see in the recent case. Let me quickly go across to Ravindra Rena speaking on this case.
फिर से कुलगाम के अंदर राजस्थान के रहने वाले श्रीमान विजय कुमार साहब जो इलाकाई देहाती बैंक के अंदर मैनेजर थे, उनको निशाना बनाकर पाकिस्तानी कायर आतंकवादियों ने बहुत बड़ा जघन्य अपराध किया है, महापाप किया।
All right. Well, you have the BJP state president, Jammu and Kashmir, of course, who's raised this yet again, another case of targeted killing. And one can only imagine the kind of trauma and torture the Hindus in the Kashmir Valley are currently going through. This certainly is sending shockwaves across the Jammu and Kashmir state. And we know that anyone venturing into Jammu and Kashmir also now will have to think twice. If you're Hindu particularly, it seems like you could be susceptible to a terrorist strike or an attack. And that's what's worrisome. Despite the police deployment, despite huge military presence there, we're looking at these terrorists very brazenly coming out and getting at their targets after information that they've received, God knows from where. They seem to be fully aware of what they're doing. They're getting at those targets, straight shooting at them point blank and walking out. And despite the series of killings in the recent past, doesn't seem like the police or the military at those areas are able to clamp down on this massive terror that's looming across the valley at this point. Let me go across to Sunil G. Bhatt, joining us live more. Sunil, very tragic, another case of a non-local Hindu this time who has been targeted in Kulgam area. Vijay Kumar, a bank employee, he was sitting alone in that bank office. The terrorist comes in, takes a good recce, gives a good look at the office to see that nobody was there. He goes back, minutes later comes back with a gun, point blank, shoots at Vijay. This really comes as a shock for us to see that in the last few months itself, targeted killings have happened one after the other brazenly, and it seems like they've managed to execute it so comfortably. What use of a huge police deployment and army presence in the Kashmir Valley if they're not able to control this?
Yes, Nabila, there is no end to targeted killings in the Kashmir Valley. Today also, a bank employee was shot dead inside his office in South Kashmir's Kulgam district. And it seems that the local administration is not taking any lessons because time and again these targeted killings are taking place. And the update is that hundreds of Hindu government employees who are serving in the valley, in different parts of the valley, have fled from there and they have reached Jammu. And here you can see that they are staging angry protests. They have taken out a protest march and they are raising slogans against LG's administration. They are saying that the situation is not conducive for the survival of minority Hindu community members in the Kashmir Valley. You can see that there is massive sloganeering taking place. We will try and get a word from some protesters here. They are raising slogans against the administration. जी आप बताइए, आप कश्मीर घाटी में काम करते हैं?
सर पिछले 15 सालों से हम कश्मीर घाटी में काम कर रहे हैं।
कौन से जिले में?
सर जिला अनंतनाग।
तो अभी आप वहाँ से छोड़कर आ गए?
छोड़ के आना सर, वहाँ पे मरना है क्या? किसके लिए वहाँ पे रुकना है? टोटली अनसेफ है वहाँ पे, हम कमरे से बाहर नहीं निकल सकते हैं, भाग के आना पड़ा हमें वहाँ पे।
सरकार ने आश्वासन दिया है और कहा है कि आपको जिला मुख्यालय में तबादला किया
सर लॉलीपॉप है, कुछ नहीं है, सरकार के आश्वासन झूठे हैं, कुछ नहीं कर रही वो हमारे लिए। आज जिला अस्पताल में अंदर आके मार रहे हैं तो बंदा कहाँ जाए? देखो ना, अभी किलिंग हुई है बैंक के अंदर, वहाँ पे सिक्योरिटी गार्ड्स भी हैं, बंदा कहाँ जाएगा? बंदा बोलो आप कहाँ जाएगा? जब मतलब ऑफिस में सेफ नहीं है तो कहाँ जाएगा? स्कूल की तो बात ही मत छोड़ो आप।
जी आप बताइए, आप भी कश्मीर में ही कार्यरत थे?
बिल्कुल सर।
कौन से जिले में?
अनंतनाग जिले में कार्यरत हूँ सर मैं।
तो अभी आप वहाँ से छोड़ छाड़ कर आगे परिवार के साथ?
सर पूरे के पूरे जितने एम्प्लॉई हैं हमारे कश्मीर प्रोविंस से, सारे के सारे जम्मू आ चुके हैं और यहाँ पे एक बहुत बड़े स्तर पे जो है प्रोटेस्ट शुरू हो चुका है। और हमारी मांग एक ही है कि हमें कोई टाइम बाउंड नहीं चाहिए, हमें कोई पॉलिसी नहीं चाहिए, टाइम बाउंड पॉलिसी नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि हम 10 साल 5 साल 2 साल हम नहीं रुक सकते, हम और अपने जितने भी साथी हैं उनको मरवा नहीं सकते वहाँ पे।
आपको लगता है कि जो अल्पसंख्यक हिंदू समाज के जो सरकारी कर्मचारी है वो बलि का बकरा बन रहे हैं कश्मीर में?
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल सर। आज वहाँ कोई भी हिंदू मिनॉरिटी में जो भी वहाँ बंदा है कोई भी सेफ नहीं है। और मुझे बड़े शर्म के साथ कहना पड़ता है, किसी किसी कम्युनिटी का प्रोटेस्ट होता है, वहाँ पे एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के हर एक बंदा वहाँ आके उनकी बात सुनता है। आज सर हमारी बात यहाँ सुनने के लिए एक भी सरकारी आदमी, एक भी पॉलिटिकल आदमी नहीं है। शेम है सर, शेम है, शेम।
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
आप क्या चाहते हैं?
सर वी वांट ओनली वांट हमारी की ट्रांसफर पॉलिसी पर है, बस और कुछ नहीं चाहिए हमें।
आप जम्मू में चाहते हैं कि ट्रांसफर?
बिल्कुल।
So Nabila, you can clearly see the anger of the Hindu government employees from Jammu region who are serving in the valley. They have fled from the valley and they have reached Jammu, and here they are staging protests, massive protests, and they have taken out a protest march. Thousands of government employees are here and you can see they are holding banners in their hands. We want justice, we want transfer to our homes. So that's what they are saying. So you can clearly see that that there is massive anger, massive outrage over the targeted killings that are taking place in the Kashmir Valley, whether it's the Kashmiri Pandit community or the Dogra Hindu community or the Hindus from different parts of the country or even the Muslim community members who are part of the mainstream. All of them are being targeted, and the security situation in the Kashmir Valley has deteriorated, and the anger is also against the administration because the people say that the government hasn't taken any lessons, hasn't learned any lessons from the killings that have taken place, and nothing concrete is being done to prevent more killings. Today also a bank employee was shot dead right inside his office by the terrorists. So you can see that there is that terrorists have been emboldened, and people are also accusing some politicians of the Kashmir Valley who are shying away from criticizing and slamming Pakistan. So clearly here there is anger among people. They want that government must seriously look into their issues and they must be transferred to Jammu region. They are saying that time and again they have made pleas, repeated pleas to the local administration that they should be transferred to safer areas. But all their pleas went to deaf ears. They are saying that action must be taken against those officials also who are showing non-serious attitude towards their problems. They are saying FIR should be lodged against such officials. We will talk to some more protesters here. आप भी कश्मीर घाटी में कार्यरत हैं?
जी।
क्या चाहते हैं?
हम चाहते हैं जम्मू ट्रांसफर चाहते हैं हम सभी। वहाँ पर हमारी मतलब टारगेट किलिंग हो रही है और हम चाहते हैं कि हमें जम्मू में ट्रांसफर किया जाए।
अभी जो कश्मीर में माहौल है, आपको लगता है कि वहाँ पर रहने लायक माहौल नहीं बना है अभी कश्मीर में जो माहौल है?
सर अभी की डेट में देखा जाए तो माहौल ऐसा नहीं है। हम 2007 से शुरू कर रहे हैं, तभी तक हमें ऐसा नहीं लगा, लेकिन आज जो है आज हालात ऐसे हो गए हैं कि हम वहाँ रह सकते, डर के माहौल में सभी जी रहे हैं वहाँ पर।
अभी आपको लग रहा है कि अभी सबसे ज्यादा हालात कश्मीर में?
अभी सबसे ज्यादा सर, बिल्कुल टारगेट किलिंग हो रही है। हम किसी जगह को सेफ नहीं मान सकते।
इसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं?
सर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन। अब किसी को बोल सकते हैं हम एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को।
उसके अभी एक कर्मचारी को गोली मार गई, उनकी CCTV फुटेज आप देख सकते हैं। बैंक में सिक्योरिटी गार्ड होते हैं, वो सेफ नहीं है। तो वहाँ तहसील ऑफिस में वहाँ बंदा सेफ नहीं है। हमारे स्कूल तो फिर भी फार फ्लंग एरिया में है।
कल उपराज्यपाल का जो प्रशासन है, उन्होंने कल घोषणा की कि जो अल्पसंख्यक हिंदू समाज के सरकारी कर्मचारी हैं, उनको जिला मुख्यालयों में उनका तबादला किया जाएगा। क्या आपको लगता है, आप उससे संतुष्ट हैं?
नहीं सर, जिला मुख्यालय में लाके भी क्या करेंगे जी? एक जगह 4-4-5 को इकट्ठा करेंगे तो उनके लिए और सॉफ्ट टारगेट बन जाएंगे। जहां एक मर रहा था वहां 5 किलिंग एक साथ होने का खतरा बढ़ जाएगा।
So clearly you can see that people are not satisfied with the steps that have been taken by the LG administration. They are saying that even district headquarters in the Kashmir Valley are not safe for the survival of the minuscule minority of Kashmir, that is Hindus.
You know, one can only imagine the kind of frustration they're currently going through, and it's only valid. Targeting killings one after the other. Today, Vijay, a banker, non-local Hindu, was shot at point blank by those terrorists. We're going to continue tracking those details. Sunil Ji Bhatt joins us live from that region where protests are now rampant, asking for the government to move them to a much safer zone, mostly in Jammu. That's the demand. We're going to continue tracking those developments. For now, it's a short break. We'll be right back.